Welcome to the Depot Sports Chat. I'm sports editor Drew Rubenstein, and I'm with Kristin Kurelic. And Kristin, it's finally game week for all the area prep football teams. Each week we're going to start off with what we consider the game of the week of our area teams, and the game this week is probably an obvious one for all fans. University High travels down to Lewis County, and after demolishing Lewis County pretty easily in the season opener last year, the Hawks got upset in the first round of the playoffs. So it seems like John Kelly's kind of been preaching that this is the revenge game for the Hawks. And do you think that this game will really set the tone for how the Hawks do this season?
This game should definitely set the tone. They've been using this game as motivation for the last year. The players are pumped, the coaches are pumped, and this game really is going to have an impact on how the rest of the season goes for this year.
Let's look a little bit more at UHS. Specifically, I know you were working on a story in the Menu Post about one of their offensive linemen, left tackle Jeff Headley. And UHS, it seems like really they're going to rely on him, that he's a key component to their offensive line. What does his return do, and what kind of significance does he have for the Hawks?
That is the best news for University going into this week's game. Jeff Headley has been out for about 4 months over the summer. He had an injury in the preseason last year, played all season injured, and had a surgery after the year. Just came back in their first scrimmage last Saturday against Preston, took a few reps and looked really, really good. The coaches were pleased with that, and that really changes things for the Hawks. Headley is certainly the leader of the offensive line. He's the biggest guy on the field. He is, as the quarterback Travis Renner says, he's the heart of that line, and especially when University, historically, the line is maybe a weaker point. Usually they are a little bit undersized compared to some of the bigger teams, and Headley really gives them that toughness on the front.
And a lot of teams, successful teams, have to overcome adversity, and it looks like UHS from the get-go is already having to overcome quite a lot of adversity. Their injury situation, where do they stand right now heading into week one?
Yes, that's the bad news. Headley came back in the scrimmage last week against Preston. 13 other players were out for the Hawks, and a lot of those guys were players that would be expected to have significant roles in this week's game. Probably the most concerning one is first-team All-State kicker and punter Billy Kinney. He is out for at least 3 weeks. They aren't really exactly sure what is wrong with him, but he has a foot injury, some sort of a ligament tear. They think he's in a boot right now, and he will not be suited up this week. Holden Talton will be taking all kickoffs, extra points, and field goals for the Hawks, and Coach Kelly is pretty confident in his ability there. However, the Hawks do not have a punter at this point. Coach Kelly says he's going to go for it. He's not punting the ball. No matter where they are on the field, they're going to go for it on fourth down. Other players, though, that are injured are Jace Neville, who is going to see some time at wide receiver, running back, Tevin Dixon, who came out this year for football for the first time since middle of his sophomore season and really looked really good in the scrimmages. Played some defensive back, some wide receiver, just another athlete to add to the mix. He's been missing some practices this week. Lineman R.J. Martin, really just several key guys that have gone down and are questionable for the game this week.
Absolutely. Going around, I know you'll be in Lewis County on Friday night to watch that game, but in town, Morgantown High opens the season at home against Brooke, John Bauer's alma mater, and the Mohegans are look to be one of the favorites to potentially win the state championship. So what are you looking for out of week one out of the Mohegans here?
Out of the Mohegans, we are looking to see Chazzy Thomas obviously come back from his injury, that horrific leg injury that he suffered in the Mohawk Bowl last year. This will be his first real game experience since then, so obviously everyone will be watching to see how is he going to look in live action. How is that leg going to hold up? Is he going to have that extra step that he needs? Also, we'll be looking to see Ethan Goldcamp making his debut at quarterback for the first time.
Absolutely, and then also other pieces. There's quite a few WVU recruits and Division I athletes, and give us a rundown of those individuals. And I think a lot of fans are interested to see how those guys are going to perform now with maybe the lights on them a little bit more.
Right, we've got Stone Wolfley, who will be obviously in the spotlight
Right.
the whole season. He's already committed to WVU as just a junior. You've got lineman Andre Collins, who's got an offer from VMI. You've got Amani Brown, who is also committed to WVU for next year. So those will be three big guys to keep an eye on.
Going around, Clay-Battelle, after one of the most successful seasons in school history, opens on the road at Payton City. They've got a couple weeks before they get to have their home debut in their beautiful new stadium. But Clay-Battelle at Payton City, this was a game that the CBs didn't really have much problem with last year. Do you think the same will be true on Friday night, or will Payton City give them a few more troubles this year?
You know, to be honest, this will probably be a tune-up game for the CBs. That game was 65-0 last year. It was 51-0 by halftime. Payton City only has 20 guys on their roster, no seniors, very small physically. Clay-Battelle is obviously, as you just mentioned, this could be the best Clay-Battelle team there has ever been. So they will be just looking to see what they can do on offense with putting in a lot of new things, a spread offense, just lots of options, just testing those things out and seeing how they can execute what they do. And we'll also be looking to see Jarrett Hockenberry at wide receiver, coming back to Clay-Battelle from being at Morgantown High last year, and just the playmaking ability that he can bring, combined with Tristan Hott, who will be back for his third year at quarterback after being All-State last year. So that could be an exciting pair to watch this season.
Absolutely. Last game, we'll take a look at Preston. After a couple up and down, mostly down seasons, they had 3 wins last year, which was the most that they had in a few years. They open up against Hampshire again, this time on the road. The Knights, what are kind of the keys to the game here for the Knights to be able to pull this one out?
The Knights are heading into this game with Hampshire. 2 years ago, Hampshire was the only team they beat, and last year they opened with Hampshire and just it didn't go so well. Hampshire is also a team, both Hampshire and Preston are teams that are kind of just on the verge of maybe looking to get into the playoffs this year. For Preston to do that, to get a win against this sort of a team this week, they're going to need to see what their offense can do, if they have enough offense to make up for the loss of Corey Goldstrom, who was really their main offensive threat for the last 4 years at running back. Now they will have a committee of guys this year who are maybe a little bit smaller, maybe a little bit less experienced, but they do have a committee, so we'll see if all those guys can make up for Corey together. We'll also be looking to see if the Preston defense is improved. It did look improved in the scrimmages they had this year, but they averaged, gave up 36 points a game last year, and Coach Tennant said that was just unacceptable. So for the Knights to succeed this week, we need to see them be able to stop the ball.
Very good. Kristin, I appreciate it, and thanks for your time. Please continue to check thedpost.com and the Dominion Post for recaps of all the games, and we'll be back next week to look at Week 2's matchups.